Educational Communications and this station present Environmental Directions with Nancy Pearlman. On this series, we explore the effects of human influence on the Earth's ecosystems and discuss solutions to environmental problems which affect the quality of life on this planet. Environmental Directions gives you the kind of information you need to help you participate in decisions impacting your community, the nation, and the world. Now, here's your host, Nancy Pearlman.
Hello. We're going to be talking about transforming architecture with my guest, Rex Beasley. He is an environmental designer with Future Space, an architectural engineer, and founder of DAOS, Dynamic Architecture Open Space. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You have a fascinating story about what you are building and creating in an area called Panorama Pass, an area in Morongo Valley, which is between Palm Springs in Southern California and Joshua Tree, and you're near many national monuments as well. Santa Snow National Monument and the San Gorgonio Mountain area, the highest mountain in Southern California. And you have this incredible area of land in a valley of both low desert and high desert. Can you tell us more about this very special place in Southern California?
Yeah, this area is the gateway to the high desert. So when you come up from the low desert, from Palm Springs, for instance, heading towards Joshua Tree, we are right at the entrance to the high desert where the climate's quite a bit different. It's cooler, very fresh air, lots of open land. I often call it a blank canvas.
But it's not so blank with what you are creating there. You have places like geomodern architecture that incorporates the vistas, the natural light, the wind and sun energy. You have something called Harmony Sails, which is filled with living architecture experiences. And you also have a wildlife corridor and something called geotech homes. Explain the difference of these different kinds of buildings.
Yeah, lots of topics. So one of the things that we have here that's an exciting place to visit is Harmony Sails. It's a showroom for lots of examples of transforming architecture. It's all about doing more with less, having an environment that's where the connectivity with the outdoors and the indoors is very in the moment. It happens quickly. So the walls of the home are less fixed because they're able to open up and have the indoors and the outdoors commingle. So we have lots of concepts along those lines of a small space acting bigger, going outdoors. So that's Harmony Sails. And then we have some other villages that are part of this area in Morongo Valley, in Panorama Pass. One of them is called the Hidden Passage Guest Ranch. It's an island in the Santa Snow National Monument, completely surrounded by the Santa Snow National Monument. Has probably the darkest skies you've ever seen. Very quiet, amazing hiking, lots of animal life around because it is an island isolated from the rest of the community. We have another community called the Chateaus for someone who wants to be more able to get to Joshua Tree, go to Palm Springs, easier in and out. And it's also a place to stay and where we are building more of these concepts of transforming architecture. We're actually in the process of taking one of the homes and putting in a living room that glides out into the outdoors that you will soon be able to stay at.
Can you describe one of your most sustainable buildings, what it looks like and what makes it sustainable and ecological?
So one of my inventions, I call it the geotech, and you can see the geotech on the DAOS.earth website. This structure, you look at it and you watch the animation, it creates a lifestyle that most people have never even imagined. It's an amazing quality of life. It's very exciting in terms of what it's like to live in it, how you relate to the environment. But it's also basically an energy machine. It produces enough energy for 5 homes. So you could actually have this powering up your neighbors. This could also be scaled up to be a community center in Africa or the Middle East, where it could be a hospital, a school, and supply all of its own energy. So That's one of my more interesting structures and something that I would very much suggest people look at and that we are in the process of getting built.
You use the term transforming architecture, and architecture over the years have had different terminology. Mid-century modern architecture started incorporating nature with the buildings. You seem to want to include making architecture such that we make our personal environment better and have a lighter footprint on the planet. How do you define that term?
That's exactly right. The traditional architecture, or architecture as we have conceived of it, basically to this point, is largely static. So it is what it is. It sits there and hopefully it looks pretty. But you have the inside and you have the outside. What I'm working with is the transformation of the architecture so that it can use the forces of energy more, so it allows you to have more connectivity with nature. It's healthier typically because the homes breathe and are more interfaced with the forces of nature. In fact, I often call this mid-century modern architecture taken to a new generation because we're applying sciences and technology to allow the home to be more amorphous, more flexible. Mid-century modern architecture, by its nature, has a lot of feeling of the indoors and the outdoors being connected. There's a lot of visibility to the outdoors. But the fact is the outdoors is still the outdoors. With transformers and what I call geomodern architecture, we are actually now making the home break apart and become part of the outdoors and have the indoors be able to come in.
Let's talk about that outdoors a little bit more, because you are in an area that has hills, mountains, desert washes, rocky outcroppings, quite a variety of geologic features, but also a variety of plants and animals that are unique to Southern California. What would one actually see?
The topography here is very interesting. There's a lot of elevation changes. For instance, whereas in, say, Malibu, you very often have somebody in the front of somebody else and blocking their view. In this area, everybody basically has a view because of the slope. So it's dramatic in terms of you get to have these amazing views. There's also, as you mentioned, dramatic washes and outcroppings of rocks. In fact, Morongo Valley got left behind and was yucca and 29 palms and Joshua tree were settled sooner because they were flat and there was less rocks and less of this drama of the landscape. So I think to the benefit of now, we have this area that's not that populated, and it has this really dramatic landscaping. And so one of the things we do with architecture is we nestle it and make it more interconnected with the beauty of this desert area. We are creating outdoor living rooms. Since the climate is so beautiful here, we have outdoor living rooms where we encourage people to spend time outdoors.
So if I'm sitting there in the out of doors, will I see bighorn sheep cross my way? Will I see mountain lion, desert tortoise? What animals will I see, including the reptiles and the birds?
This is one of the top bird watching places in the world, as you may know. There's a place called Big Morongo Preserve, and it's actually a world-class bird watching place. And so we actually do have amazing variety of exotic birds. Well, I say exotic in the sense that they're rare.
But these are birds that are native to Southern California, not introduced from other parts of the world.
Well, of course, birds go where they want to go. I assume, yes, that a great number of them are local, but there's a lot of birds that are moving from one place to the other. And because this is an oasis, it brings a lot of birds that are in their paths of travel from one season to another. We do see bears occasionally. We do see mountain lions occasionally. We see tortoises occasionally. One of the sad aspects of the desert is that humans have driven a lot of these animals away. And one of the things that we're doing is we're working with the idea of improving the corridors for wildlife. And so Hidden Passage Guest Ranch that I told you about that's way up in the Sand and Snow National Monument, that is actually on the edge of a major corridor for the whole of the Sand and Snow National Monument, the San Gorgonio Mountains, traveling to the Joshua Tree National Park. And there is land that's been purchased by the Mojave Desert Land Trust to allow for and eventually a wildlife corridor that will cross over the 62 and join those two massive areas. And that's right where we are, so we can help facilitate that. That will eventually cause a lot more animal life to flow through there as they discover that there is a path of travel over this land bridge.
You mentioned the Sand to Snow National Monument, which is your backyard. How big is that, and why was it created? Sand for desert we think of with dunes, but are there big sand dunes there? And snow, of course, means that you have high mountaintops, so it goes up to over 10,000 feet that you see?
Yes, the Sand to Snow National Monument, which was produced by Barack Obama. He was the one that signed off on that and made it happen. The reason it's called that is it includes San Gorgonio, and it goes all the way down to Palm Springs and then all the way over to where it butts up against Joshua Tree National Park. It's really massive, and that is a unique aspect of it in that it goes from snow down to sand dunes. It goes right up to the windmills where the sand dunes are down in the Palm Springs area. I've seen it said that there are more variety of animal life and plant life in this area than any other park in the United States.
Amazing what we have here in Southern California to visit. What kind of visitation is allowed to see the various architecture that you are developing in this locale? And also, you have numerous websites, YouTubes, where people can see some of these places that you have created in Panorama Pass, including the Environments by Rex, the Harmony Sales, the Dynamic Architecture, Open Space. How do they visit, both in person and on the Internet?
I recommend they go to panoramapass.earth. It takes you to a lot of different places. It will take you also to environmentsbyrex.earth. It will take you to DAOS.earth. It'll introduce you to our villages where you can stay, and it will have the calendar of upcoming talks on architecture and other kinds of events that are going on in the deserts.
How many acres do you have, and how many people are living out there?
I invested early in this area because when I first came out here, it was not considered to be cool. It was considered less prestigious, and I thought it was very much location, location, location. That has proven to be true now. It's now being realized that if you want to live in the desert, you want to vacation in the desert, if you come to Morongo Valley, you're in the center of everything. Joshua Tree is 20 minutes away, Palm Springs 20 minutes away, so you can hike in the morning in Joshua Tree, you can dance and eat in Palm Springs in the evening. Also supporting in the overall health of this area. One of the things that's special about this area is they have strict rules in terms of nighttime lighting. So we have dark skies that many people don't have in this area.
It's great to see the sky.
We have people come out here and they see the Milky Way for the first time in their life.
You call yourself an environmental designer and an architectural engineer rather than just an architect or an artist. How do you describe those terms, and what are you creating that makes you want to use those terms?
That's a very pithy question and a complicated question. So environmental design, as I practice it, is encompassing of many things, including architecture. Architecture is a piece, and so the architect plays a part in the story of environmental design. But architects aren't typically that versed in physics and sciences and technology and mechanics. They also focus on the structure, and some of them think more in terms of how the structure fits into the space and works with the space, but they aren't as oriented towards that as I am. I am basically obsessed with the environment around the structure and how the structure works with the energies and relates to the exterior. So, when I speak of architecture of a lifestyle, I'm thinking of what's around you at a half a mile included in the structure. Architecture is kind of a subset. The architectural engineering, that comes from me being an engineer, and it allows me to do things architects can't do, like make a whole home move, follow the sun, have the interior create 20 different floor plans in the matter of seconds.
It's so wonderful that you are creating this beautiful environment within nature, preserving nature, and I'm excited to come visit. Thank you so very much for sharing with us your innovative work. Thank you for being my guest.
Okay, thank you, Nancy.
I have been speaking with Rex Beasley, who is an environmental designer with Future Space, architectural engineer, founder of DAOS, Dynamic Architecture Open Space. I'm Nancy Pearlman. Thank you very much for joining us, and do tune in again next week.
If you would like free information about these environmental issues, go to www.ecoprojects.org or call 310-559-9160. Environmental Directions with your host, Nancy Pearlman, is a community affairs program of the nonprofit organization Educational Communications and this station.